I could talk all day about housing,
Me
but
too.
you got more.
We could come back and just do a housing podcast.
With recent, the recent rises in crime, we've seen violent crime rise, nonviolent crime rise. Do you think a lot of these progressive criminal reform policies have led to the rise in crime, or would you say it's coming from a different area?
People want really easy narratives, and they want you to pick a side when it comes to crime. You're either soft on crime and you're causing the crime to go up, or you're hard on crime and you're taking people of color and throwing them and warehousing them away. I think you have to be pretty nuanced. I am a big proponent of that we warehoused people for way too long. It was too expensive. It was racist. It was wrong. But the money we were promised when we were going to deinstitutionalize people that would go into programs to catch them if they have mental health or substance abuse issues, they've never had job training, I haven't seen materialize. So there's kind of both sides are right to an extent. I don't think the answer is to lock people up again. The answer is to truly have a criminal justice system in which there are consequences for some repeat offenders. Right now, I think it is too loose out there that literally we're rearresting the same person who 5 times in a row within like 3 weeks is breaking into that same car. Like that person does need to be locked up until we figure out what. Not 20 years locked up, but locked up right now and have some consequence.
Fox News has pointed to some high-profile incidences of people doing crime.
But they go too far. On the flip side, if we don't actually have programs, I'll give you an example of what we did with Caltrans. We took people coming out of the criminal justice system and hired them state jobs through the mayor's office of reentry to help clean up our freeways, not like free labor, slave labor, or underpaid labor, but actual jobs with pensions and health care. The recidivism rate of somebody coming out of state prison was close to 75% in California, that they'd go back. With this program and people who were hired, and we didn't cherry pick them, it's 2%. So, it seems to be smart. It's cleaning up our freeways, like those sorts of programs, and we're doing a lot of that targeted local hire too. We've had and by the way, the other thing, you brought up Fox News, is there's a huge jump in the coverage of crime. And don't get me wrong, if you're the victim of crime, that's real and that's the only statistic you care about. But this was the safest decade in our city's history. We've gone up, Part 1 crime has gone up 5% in the last 3 years, since before the pandemic to now, 5%. But I think coverage has gone up maybe 100%. And we have a very capable police department, for instance, all the follow home robberies and the things that we hear about. That got knocked down to less than before the coverage started, but you never get the coverage saying, success.
Crime is dropping. Yeah.
And by the way, the other things that we're doing to de-police, in other words, take the responsibilities away from police, like we have mental health vans now in the city of LA that respond through 911 to people experiencing psychosis and other things on our street. Instead of a cop or a firefighter picking them up, later releasing them because they don't have the expertise and repeating and rinse, repeat, we now have over 70% positive outcomes where county mental health workers, this is a good example of county and city working together, driven by a city paid driver and staying in our fire stations, are able to respond, give people help, give them medication, and they actually have resolution to their mental health problem in a nonviolent way. So I'm very proud. For instance, our fatal police shootings went down 85% from when I started as mayor to just before the pandemic. We're waiting on the new numbers, but to the lowest 5% of any city in America per capita. That was very conscious policy. On the other hand, you can't have a society with no consequences, and you have to be surgical about how you do that and humane about how you do that too.
So
Go ahead.
would you say recently Justice LA, their push to not build the new county jail, do you think that that's a step in the right direction for police and justice reform?
Absolutely. I would just tell people this isn't cheap. It's right, and we must do it, but don't underfund it. Don't be a state government that says, hey, we aren't paying for these prisons anymore, but you're mostly pocketing the savings instead of giving it to local jurisdictions to truly have programs. I mean, our problem right now is somebody having a mental health problem or who's addicted to drugs. There's no place to take them even if they are willing. The wait is so long. Like, we all say we hate seeing somebody naked on the streets. We hate seeing people go in the bathroom on the streets. We've seen violence on the street. We had somebody who stabbed an 8-year-old boy in the Target here downtown and a visiting flight attendant from Korean Air who was there, and she was stabbed critically because of a mental health problem. If we were actually serious about, forget crime, but just humanity, we would say those people should have health, should have health care, should have mental health care, and should have a bed someplace. Right now, we don't have that from the state or the county.